The 2019 Game Awards are just a couple of weeks away, and instead of talking about who is actually going to win the prizes at the events, I'm going to talk about what I think Nintendo is going to show off. And for those of you who don't really keep up with the Game Awards or aren't as familiar with what Nintendo has done at previous events, they've sometimes decided to show off something brand new to the audience, just to get them talking about the Nintendo products if they may not win an award or something. But Smash is nominated as Game of the Year this year, so maybe Nintendo doesn't really have to distract from that department. Regardless though, I still think Nintendo is going to show something off at this year's Game Awards, and in this video I'm going to be going over some of the possibilities that I think are the most likely for Nintendo to decide to show off. These possibilities may not be too drastic like a brand new game reveal or something like that, but some of these ideas could be pretty big because Nintendo has done some big announcements there in the past. And most of the time Nintendo only shows off one thing at the Game Awards to leave people hooked into, because after all, if they showed many different things off, there wouldn't be as much focus and attention on this one big reveal that they've got. So even though I'm going to list many possibilities within this video, probably only one of them is going to end up happening. Maybe none of them will happen. And that's where you come in. Remember to leave some ideas that you've got for what Nintendo is going to show off at the Game Awards 2019 in the comment section down below. I'll be sure to be reading through them, and I'm curious to see what you come up with. And with that all being said, let's get started. I think it's important before we go into what Nintendo is going to reveal at the Game Awards this year to take a look at some things that they've shown off at the Game Awards in the past. Last year was arguably the biggest thing that they've done at the Game Awards, and it's to reveal a brand new fighter coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This was the first one of the Fighter Pass. They announced that Joker would be coming to the game with his teaser trailer. Now we didn't get the full Joker trailer until later on, but it was still a massive reveal for the audience watching the Game Awards to see that Joker was coming to join the battle in Smash. The year before that, in 2017, we got the reveal of Bayonetta 3, again in a teaser trailer sort of thing. So maybe Nintendo isn't as keen to show off these big in-depth reveals, and instead they just want to give you a little taste of what's to come so that you go and watch one of their Nintendo Directs later on when they'll probably go more in-depth on the subject. There were other things that they've shown off in the past, such as Breath of the Wild gameplay for example, but those two recent examples are I think what's going to be good to go off of here, because after all, recency bias will probably help us with our predictions, because Nintendo likes to repeat a certain pattern, and the patterns that they've established recently have been to just show a little bit of a big reveal. Like I mentioned previously, they're probably not going to go in depth with a big brand new game announcement, but a teaser trailer for a game has happened before with Bayonetta 3. In this predictions video though, I'm not going to say that a big brand new first party game is going to be announced here with an in-depth trailer, but a teaser trailer. They're probably not going to go as in depth with it. The first idea that I want to go over in this video that Nintendo could show at the Game Awards this year piggybacks off of the previous Bayonetta 3 reveal, and this would be a full-on trailer for Bayonetta 3. We haven't seen anything about Bayonetta 3 since its initial teaser trailer near the end of 2017. It's going to be over 2 years after that when the Game Awards launches. I think this would be the perfect time to finally show something off about this title. Many Nintendo fans are wondering why we haven't seen anything about Bayonetta 3 yet, and I don't really know the answer to that question. It's an exclusive game for Nintendo, so it's not like Platinum Games is making this for a bunch of different consoles like they did with the original Bayonetta. This is just for the Switch, so Nintendo probably has a lot more control over the marketing for this game and how information is going to be revealed about it. I'm sure that if they're planning to release it in 2020 though, it could be pretty likely to see it at the Game Awards, so we get it shown off a little early on, and maybe you could expand on some of the information about Bayonetta 3 in a January Nintendo Direct or something like that. At least show us some gameplay of Bayonetta 3 if you're going to give us a trailer of it. I don't just want the teaser that we got in 2017 that really just didn't show any gameplay and just really showed the logo. I'd like something a little more than that here. And I mean, we've waited a long time for it. I think it would make sense to show something off. I also think that the audience watching the Game Awards would be an audience very appropriate for a full-on Bayonetta 3 trailer, considering that the Game Awards appeals to an audience of all consoles, not just Nintendo. So Nintendo is probably going to be more likely to show off some first-party stuff in their Directs. After all, it's mostly their fans watching the Directs. But the Game Awards, on the other hand, it's a bunch of people trying to see if games that they've played on their consoles is going to win an award, or trying to check out if a game on another console wins an award and they may want to go out and purchase a console just to play that game. It looks so good to them and the award has really convinced them that they want to buy it. It's something that seems to be pretty good for the industry and it attracts a lot of people. but these people are coming from different consoles and not just Nintendo. And Bayonetta is a series that started out on many different consoles, so this is a series that's familiar to many different people and not just Nintendo fans. And by putting out a full-on trailer for Bayonetta 3 on a platform like this, it gives the opportunity for Nintendo to show off this game to people who maybe they've played the original Bayonetta on another console like Xbox or something. And maybe they'll see Bayonetta 3 and be like, maybe I want to go buy a Switch now to go and play this game because it seems like a fun new experience. That's probably Nintendo's internal goal when showing off Bayonetta 3 at the Game Awards, and that's why I think it has a chance. Another game that I think Nintendo could potentially show off at the Game Awards is Metroid Prime 4. This would not be a full-on in-depth trailer like I'm predicting for Bayonetta 3, rather a teaser trailer. Now, we've already kind of got a Metroid Prime 4 teaser trailer, as back in June of 2017, we did get the logo with this sort of a dramatic reveal for it. But that reveal also had a now in development on it, and it's not an official game teaser trailer where we at least see some clips from the game in there, very few obviously, but we at least see something. I would like to consider a full-on teaser trailer one that at least has Samus in it looking into a villain's eyes or something like that. Now, as many of you are aware of, back in January of this year, it was announced by Nintendo that Metroid Prime 4 would be delayed because it was officially restarting development. A title that was announced in the middle of 2017 that some people expected to be released by now and playing on their Switch right now has been delayed to we don't know when. 2021 is probably an early point for Metroid Prime 4 to release, and that's an optimistic release window. It's obviously not going to come out next year unless they've insanely rushed something. I think 2021 is more of the hopeful, realistic expectation, whereas 2022 may be a realistic option, but it's something that fans probably aren't hoping for as much because they'd like to play it as soon as possible. Delaying a game should, in theory, make it better though, because more effort's being put on it. I'd just love to know how bad Metroid Prime 4 actually was to convince Nintendo just to completely restart it. They're like, this product is no good, we need to start from the beginning. But that's a side point. The main point here is whether or not Nintendo is going to want to show a teaser at the Game Awards. Does it really make sense for them? Well, if the game is indeed coming out in 2022, I don't think that's something Nintendo would want to touch at all. There are some game companies out there that'll just throw out their trailer for a game, even an in-depth gameplay trailer, and announce that the game's going to be releasing like 3 years later. Nintendo doesn't normally do that. Nintendo normally likes to have a year, maybe at most, in between reveal and release. We're seeing something a little bit different with that now, especially with the Breath of the Wild example. That's a pretty prominent one. But aside from that, there aren't too many examples. Metroid Prime 4's reveal itself can be considered one, but that was something that was desperately needed at that point in time to appeal to the Metroid fan base, which had really lost faith in Nintendo after a spin-off title was released with no announcement of a main series one. You go back and look at E3 2017 predictions and wishes, Metroid Prime 4 is all over that. But will we get to see it now? If it's releasing in 2021, even holiday 2021, I think we may have a chance to see a teaser trailer. This would just give Metroid fans some hope, just to let them know and give them some recognition that, yeah, we're still working on this. You're going to get this game, we restarted it for a reason, and it's going to be what you expect it to be. The top of the line quality that you expect from a big major title from us. I think Nintendo would probably want to push Metroid Prime 4 pretty hard, and putting it on a big stage like the Game Awards could definitely do that. The last big possibility that I want to go over in this video is one that you've probably been going over in your head and speculating about. This is a new Smash Bros. Fighter reveal, the final one of the Fighter's Pass. On paper, this reveal would just make sense to happen here. Joker, as I mentioned previously, was revealed at last year's Game Awards that kicked off the Fighter Pass. He wasn't the first DLC fighter for Smash Ultimate that goes to Piranha Plant, but he was the first one in the Fighter Pass. Now that the Fighter Pass is coming to a close, and we still have DLC characters coming beyond that, I think it makes sense to end the Fighter Pass with a reveal on the Game Awards just like the first one was. Especially if this character is a massive third-party icon like Sora or something like that, where there's going to be a ton of people who are fans of every single console that recognize this character and are excited about its inclusion in Nintendo's premier fighting franchise. That is probably the ideal scenario to have a reveal at the Game Awards for. If it's a more obscure character that a lot of people will have to do some research on to understand a bit, like Terry Bogard, who was recently released, then it might not be the best idea to spotlight it in a big reveal like this. but Joker was known throughout the gaming community by a lot of people. There are a lot of fans of the Persona franchise who mainly play on Sony consoles, so it made a lot of sense to reveal the character in a location where a lot of Sony fans are probably going to be watching to see if a title on PlayStation won an award. And the same thing will go if there's this big third-party icon revealed as a new character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This is going to have to be a big iconic character that a lot of people are going to want to play as, and a lot of people will recognize even if they're not that big of a Nintendo fan, and this may convince some of those people to go and buy a Nintendo console to go and play this game, to experience this fighter from their favorite franchise. I've gone over who I think this DLC fighter could potentially be more in depth in many previous videos that I'll link at the end of this one, but if it's an icon, I think it's very likely that Nintendo does this as their big Game Awards reveal. If it's still a more obscure character, or even one of their own characters like a representative from Fire Emblem Three Houses or something like that, maybe it's better for Nintendo to save it for a direct. After all, the fighter is supposed to be released by February of 2020. Revealing it now in December and then releasing it in February may be a little bit of a long gap that Nintendo doesn't really want to do. They may not feel that strongly that they have to leave this Final Fighter Pass character for the Game Awards, and they could do it in their own direct as this big announcement that'll get everybody excited. But if it's their choice and they feel that this character is going to benefit a lot more from being revealed in the Game Awards, then I think it's definitely going to happen. Those three main possibilities, Bayonetta 3 getting shown off in a more in-depth trailer, a teaser trailer for Metroid Prime 4, or the Final Fighter Pass DLC fighter, I think are the three most likely possibilities for what Nintendo's going to do at the Game Awards 2019. There are some other smaller possibilities. I could see them revealing a new IP, or at least putting out a teaser trailer for a new IP. It'll get some people's eyes open and wonder, maybe I want to go and get a Switch to play this new game that I don't really know much about yet. It has to be something that looks really good though and is really unique, because if it's not really going to get a lot of people talking. Maybe they could do a trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't think they would want to show it off here, and they'd probably rather show it off in a Nintendo Direct. But Breath of the Wild 2 is a game that a lot of people are excited about. The original Breath of the Wild sold a ton of units, and I would imagine that the sequel to the game would probably sell a similar amount, probably less, considering that it's a sequel, and that's normally what sequels do, sell a little bit less, but it's still going to sell a lot. I think nobody's going to deny that. There's a ton of interest in the Zelda series, and there always has been, but along with Breath of the Wild's release came more interest in The Legend of Zelda, resulting in Link's Awakening's increased sales, and the Legend of Zelda series just seems to be on a roll right now. Maybe Nintendo has plans to release Breath of the Wild 2 next year, although I don't know how likely that is. But if they are going to release Breath of the Wild 2 next year, then maybe there's a chance that they show it off at the Game Awards. Let me know what you think Nintendo's likely to show off at the Game Awards 2019, and check out some of the previous videos they have linked for you on the screen right now. If you're interested in more content like this coming your way very soon, consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon so that you don't miss a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.